Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here at Spiritually Uncuffed, and I'm grateful that D. Ray Polk is joining us for the first time. So let's give it up for him.
Thank you. It's a sing-along. Think of your fellow men, they never help me hand. Put a little love in your heart. See, it's getting late. Please don't hesitate. Put a little love in your heart. And the world will be a better place. And the world will be a better place for me and you. This way. And another day goes by, still the children cry. Put a little love in your heart. Yeah, you want the world to know, you want to take and grow. Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. And the world will be a better place for me, and you, and me.
Just wait.
Wait and see. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide, kindness will be your guide. Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. And the world will be a better place for you and me. I got it right. You just wait and see. Yeah. Put a little love in your heart. Woo. Put a little love in your heart. Oh yeah. Put a little love in your heart. Come on now. Put a little love in your heart.
Yes, thank you, D. Ray. It was such a great way to open us. I appreciate that. Yes. All right. This is my very, very first time using Canva. Can you tell by how pretty this is now? And I'm excited. I'm going to do better with centering, but I appreciate it. So my name is Reverend Casey Taylor. I use they, them pronouns. And before we talk about our vision and mission statement, I had a conversation this week about who we are and what the rules are associated with who we are as an organization and what Spiritually Uncuffed is all about. And what I say every time is the reason that we are called Spiritually Uncuffed is anything can happen, that we are not bound by what we did last week, expectations of how things are, and I really have this intention to invite people in for our Sunday Spiritually Uncuffed to not be the Rev Casey Taylor show, but for it to be a place where community feels empowered to serve in leadership. So there's this question of who are we and how do we operate? And I feel like our vision and mission statement clearly defines who we are. And so the way that we operate stems from this vision and mission statement. So at our leadership retreat that we had a couple weeks ago, we revisited the mission and vision statement and asked, does this still represent who we are, what we believe? And the resounding answer from everybody unanimously in that retreat said, yes, this is who we are. This is how we operate. So I want to not just make it clear of inviting us to affirm this and speak this together, but to also remind each one of us that this is what United Life is all about, and to recognize that this is who we are, this is what we do. So I invite you to speak these words with me together. If you don't want to, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't say it. And if you have thoughts about this vision and mission statement, just because you're not on the leadership team doesn't mean that your voice doesn't matter. So know and trust that if any part of this, if at any time that you feel like this vision and mission statement doesn't reflect who we are, or that we're not living up to our vision and mission statement, please have a conversation with me. So on that note, I invite us to speak our vision and mission together. It says, We are a loving, inclusive community, joyfully expressed in spirit. We honor, celebrate, and support each individual's awakening to their spiritual magnificence. We empower each other to create happy, healthy, abundant lives. All right, thank you for speaking that affirmation with me. So D-Ray, I'm going to invite you again to come up and sing our meditative song of the day to put us in meditative mode. And Mary Lee Jones, our practitioner of the week, will come up and deliver a meditative prayer and message for us after the song.
I'm open to receive. I let go and release. I'm open to receive. I let go and release to divine flow of energy, to divine flow of energy. I'm open to receive. I let go and release. I'm open to receive. I let go and release to divine flow of energy, to divine flow of energy. I'm open to receive.
Thank you, Dee. Good morning, everybody. Again, I am Mary Lee Jones, your practitioner for today. And it's an honor to be celebrating with you all in this wonderful, open, uncuffed space. Our theme for this month, for April, the Global Centers for Spiritual Living theme is fertilizing our future. And as we step into April, we are invited to embrace the theme of fertilizing our future. This theme, within the broader context of 2025's overall theme, which is rising higher and rooting deeper, calls us to focus on the long-term cultivation of our inner and outer worlds. Just as a gardener prepares the soil to ensure a vibrant and healthy garden, we too must nurture our minds and spirits to realize our highest aspirations. Fertilizing our future emphasizes the importance of enriching our consciousness through spiritual practices such as spiritual mind treatment, visioning, meditation, and mindfulness. These practices act as vital nutrients, helping us to clear away mental and emotional debris, create fertile ground for new possibilities, and foster holistic growth. By integrating and learning from our past experiences, including challenges and adversities, we build resilience and depth, preparing ourselves for future growth. This theme encourages us to look beyond immediate results and invest in practices that support long-term well-being. By focusing on enriching the soil of our consciousness, we cultivate a fertile environment where our dreams and aspirations can take root and flourish, leading to a future filled with promise and possibility. Today's specific topic for April 6th is enriching the soil of our possibilities. And hold on to that for a moment while I share a reading from Ernest Holmes. In mental work, we must realize that there is one infinite mind which is consciously directing our destiny. Declare every day that no mistakes have been made, none are being made, and none can be made. Declare, there is one supreme intelligence which governs, guides, and guards, tells me what to do, when to act, and how to act. Having done this in perfect faith, act with perfect assurance. Declare further, everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the most boundless experience of joy is mine now. Know this, see it, feel it, and be it. Do this every day for a few minutes. We should all do this until the time comes when it is no longer necessary. When that time comes, we will know it because our demonstrations will have been made. Suppose someone says, I have made a lot of mistakes in my life. I had opportunities I did not grasp. Every man has this feeling at some time in his life. This is a direct belief that there is but one opportunity which comes to man, and if he does not take it, he will have no more. This is a belief in limited opportunities, and it must be denied completely and specifically. It is not that we have made no mistakes, but if the belief in the necessity of mistakes stays in the consciousness, then there is bound to be a repetition. It is scientific practice to declare that there have been no mistakes in man's consciousness, that even if there have been, they are now wiped out. There are none in the divine plan, and there is no plan for man other than the divine plan. In our journey through life, cultivating a fertile inner soil is essential for personal and spiritual growth. Just as a gardener tends to their soil to ensure a bountiful harvest, we must nurture our inner environment to realize our full potential. It is necessary to explore how our past experiences, both positive and challenging, can serve as valuable nutrients that enrich our lives. From there, we discuss the active steps we can take to nurture our dreams, ensuring that they have the right conditions to flourish. Additionally, we emphasize the importance of shifting our focus from short-term gains to long-term soil health, recognizing that sustainable growth requires patience and consistent effort. By transforming the decaying aspects of our lives into enriching compost and establishing daily practices that foster growth, we create an environment brimming with possibilities. Moments of growth, both small and large, play a crucial role in enriching our soil. These are the times when we push ourselves to learn something new, develop a skill, or embrace a new perspective. Each step forward, no matter how small, adds to the richness of our inner soil, making it more fertile for future growth. Instead of viewing these experiences as burdens, let us see them as essential components of our personal growth. By changing our perspective, we can transform our challenges into opportunities, embracing them as necessary parts of our journey. Through this enriched soil, we cultivate a life filled with possibilities, resilience, and continuous growth. Our dreams are like seeds, full of potential, waiting for the right conditions to grow and flourish. Just as a gardener carefully prepares the soil, we must create an environment conducive to nurturing our dreams. This begins with setting clear intentions. When we define our goals and aspirations with clarity, We give direction to our efforts and focus our energy on what truly matters. Surrounding ourselves with supportive people is equally important. The encouragement, advice, and positive energy from friends, family, and mentors can significantly impact our motivation and progress. These individuals help us stay accountable, celebrate our successes, and provide comfort during challenging times. They are the fertile soil in which our dreams can take root. Dedicating time and energy to our passions is another crucial element. Dreams require consistent effort and attention to grow. This means prioritizing our aspirations, making time for them in our busy lives, and being willing to put in the hard work necessary for their realization. Whether it's honing a skill, pursuing further education, or investing in personal development, every step we take nurtures our dreams. By actively nurturing our dreams through clear intentions, supportive relationships, and dedicated effort, we create a fertile ground where they can take root and flourish. This careful cultivation ensures that our dreams are not just fleeting thoughts, but become vibrant realities, growing strong and thriving in the environment we have prepared for them. Seeking to shift our focus to long-term growth requires a conscious effort to adopt practices that promote sustainable well-being. Meditation, for example, helps us cultivate mindfulness, reducing stress and improving mental clarity over time. Continuous learning through formal education or self-directed study ensures that we are constantly growing and evolving, preparing ourselves for future opportunities and challenges. Building meaningful relationships provides us with a support system that enriches our lives, offering companionship, advice, and emotional stability. These practices, while requiring time and dedication, significantly contribute to the long-term health of our inner soil. By investing in activities that promote sustainable well-being, we ensure that our foundation remains strong and fertile, capable of supporting our dreams and aspirations for years to come. Instead of seeking immediate rewards, we cultivate a mindset focused on enduring growth and lasting fulfillment, leading to a richer, fuller, more satisfying life. A reminder from Ernest Holmes and the creative process, and as our religious science symbol demonstrates. Seed, universal spirit, the thought idea we select in our mind or in our visioning. Soil, the universal subjective mind. Our ideas are received by the creative medium of mind, the law of God, and through the creative principle begin to form what will be demonstrated in our lives. And 3, the plant, the demonstration, physical manifestation. Are we allowing the highest divine ideals about every aspect of our lives to be the seeds we plant and nourish, to help us grow in our spiritual power and consciousness and create the very best present and future lives for ourselves we possibly can, and claim the good to which we are entitled? I'm going to offer a final quote from Ernest Holmes and go into prayer. All is love, and yet all is law. Love rules through law. Love is the divine givingness. Law is the way. Love is spontaneous. Law is impersonal. We should study the nature of reality with this in mind. We shall see that there is an infinite spirit operating through an infinite and immutable law. In this, cosmos, and not chaos, finds an eternal existence and reality. Love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Take a deep breath. Relax. God is the absolute reality and only intelligence, the one infinite reality. God is wholeness, peace, joy, love, perfection, and goodness. As my mind is an individualization of God mind, I accept the idea that I am now thinking with the mind of God. The Spirit of God moves through me. It's my spirit of self-awareness, and also moves through everyone present here and online. God is right where everyone is as the perfect divine emanations of that essence that they are. With the knowledge that everyone present here and online is one with God, surrounded by the acceptance of the existence of all the gifts, joys, riches, and blessings in the universe, I now speak my word for all. I realize and completely accept that the creative law of spirit is acting through everyone present and online to bring awareness to the quality of the thoughts they are planting in mind to yield the best lives possible. This is their spiritual truth. And I see awareness to the quality of the thoughts they are planting in mind to yield their best lives possible as being theirs right now. And I release any need to know how that will manifest. I feel and express my overflowing gratitude for knowing this truth about everyone here and online, and for the awareness to the quality of the thoughts they are planting in mind to yield their best lives possible that is flowing into their existence right now. And I release my treatment and my word for everyone here and online into the infinite activity of the law, which always says yes and is now done as I have declared and deeply felt. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Mary Lee. You're welcome. All right, so now is time for our special music with D. Ray Polk.
Sit in a cool, clear, healing mountain stream, watching the birds and butterflies on the wing, feeling the endless flow deep inside of me, filling me up with all possibilities. I am love, I am light, I am peace, I am happiness, I am joy, I am joy, I am joy. As I await to see what the day will bring, I call on my angels to blend with me. Thank you for sharing with me what you know. I feel your love, your peace and joy. I am love, I am light, I am peace, I am happiness, I am joy, I am joy, I am joy. I am love, I am light, I am peace, I am happiness, I am joy, I am joy, I am joy. I am love, I am light, I am peace, I am happiness, I am joy, I am joy, I am joy.
Thank you, D-Ray. D-Ray, did you tell me that you wrote that song?
Yes.
Beautiful. It's so perfect for today. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
You were like the perfect musician for today. So our theme for this week is enriching our soil of possibilities, and the monthly theme is fertilizing our future. And Mary Lee spoke a lot about that. I love that Mary Lee is our first Sunday of the month because she dives so deep into both the explanation of what the theme is, and I never do that. So I'm so glad that Mary Lee provides us this service at the beginning of each month and really tied together that experience of fertilizing our future and enriching the soil of possibilities. Thank you so much for that. Music is perfect. I am with it. So this week's material has been put together by Elijah Christopher Hayden. And I've mentioned them a few times. Elisha uses they, them pronouns. I met Elijah in 2018, the very first Next Gen retreat that I ever went to. Elijah served on the leadership team, and they live in the Bay Area. I've never lived in the Bay Area, and I met a bunch of people at that first Next Gen retreat that I went to. And I've spoken to it about this over the course of the years, that my experience at this Next Gen retreat, I was 37 at the time, so had already kind of aged out. The concept behind Next Gen is for people who are 18 to 35-ish. So I was still ish, but it was my first experience with a truly inclusive experience of spirituality. At that point, as a 37-year-old minister, one would think that 37 is not young adult. I was fully treated as a young adult, despite the fact that I was pushing 40 in our organization. And so to experience a spiritual community that felt like it was designed with me in mind, designed by people who are like me, who knew what it was like to be treated as a young adult, as a 35-year-old, it was really a healing experience for me. And Elijah and I met for that very first time. And because Elijah lives in the Bay Area and I do not, our paths didn't necessarily cross very often. I'd run into them on some Zoom things every once in a while, and I would have never connected with them if there wasn't a moment that occurred sometime last year, at the beginning of January. I wrote a book, and I'm going to apologize in advance for this, Abby. I'm going to use this word many times. Sorry, Derek, I'm going to use this word many times. I appreciate you supporting me using the word that I'm going to be using. That I had this experience at the summer Next Gen retreat the following year, where I participated in a meditation experience that was designed to identify the deepest, darkest presence that I was most fearful of. And the way this meditation worked is it just started with feeling the fear, not knowing who the person was, but really feeling that energy of some presence in your life that you are most afraid of. And at the very end of the meditation, it was about revealing who that person is. You turn around, you feel this presence, and then you turn around and face it. And who do you see? And who I saw was myself. So directly after that, we engaged in a forgiveness exercise. And in the exercise, I went by Karen at the time. This is before Karen's was a whole thing. Before the word Karen, the name Karen was a curse word. I had no problem with it. I shouldn't say that. I did go by Casey a little bit like 15 years ago. And so many people were like, Casey or KC? And I just got tired of it. But having a conversation about Karen was way, way worse than the difference between KC and Casey. So I took it. So anyway, the way that this forgiveness exercise went is it was something like the Ho'oponopono prayer that was like, thank you, I love you, I forgive you. One other aspect of it had something like, I gave you my power, I'm taking it back now. And as I was repeating my name over and over again, I started calling myself shit-talking Karen. And I realized that this presence wasn't just the all of me. It wasn't the totality of me. It was the inner critic that lived in my head. And I named her, I still use she, her for my inner shit talker, because my inner shit talker was resistant of me using they, them pronouns for a good 10, 15 years. So like, she gets to be shit talking Karen. And so I named her that, and from that moment in 2019 began this process of making peace with my own inner shit talker. And I had no idea that one day I was gonna write a book with that title. And I had no idea that as part of that book, I would create a 90-day program within it. It was just part of my own evolution. And where Elijah comes into play in this is last year, like January, beginning of January of last year, you know, it's the new year. I had intentions. I have this book, I've got this program. What am I going to do with this? What should my next steps be? And my friend Reverend Audra, who I also met at this Next Gen retreat in 2018, said, Elijah Christopher Hayden is teaching this program called Synthesis that's designed for you to show up with a project, and it's designed to support you in bringing that project to life. And from that moment, that program, the Synthesis program, has affected my life in ways that I could have never imagined, because what I thought I was doing was entering a program designed to support me in bringing this project to life. I had no idea that this program was actually designed to inspire me to live in flow, to stay present and live in flow. And that's been a quality that I've already been living from. I recognize the value of being present instead of looking ahead to the future and worrying about what happens next, or judging myself for what happened before. Shit talking Karen is all in the past and all in the future. And so I've really been operating from the standpoint of being present, and being a part of this program in Synthesis has really helped me do that. So since then, Elijah and I have gotten pretty close. We are monthly prayer partners now. We actually collaborated on the June Global Themes content. So I'm saying all this to say that, like, every single one of these quotes I used from Elijah this week, because they're the homie. They're my prayer partner. I've learned so much from them. And fun fact, Elijah being on the Global Themes team this year, that was another way we got to get to know each other last year, was that Elijah didn't see themselves as a good writer. And the writing, in my opinion, for April was incredible. I was like, Elijah, what? What were you thinking? So I'm so grateful that I think Elijah's a better writer than Elijah thinks of themselves to be, and that we are finding inspiration from their wisdom around this concept of enriching our soil of possibilities that they identified for us this week. So Elijah said, it is necessary to explore how our past experiences, both positive and challenging, can serve as valuable nutrients that enrich our lives. Mary Lee spoke about this as well, that the concept of staying present is this recognition that everything that has ever happened has made you who you are today. Tasha spoke about this in the sound bath this morning as well, that every experience, every challenge shapes us into who we are. And that's something to be celebrated. As I spoke of having these challenges with my inner critic, what I didn't get into was my own personal challenges around my intuition. That in 2019, when I went through this meditation and recognized that I was my own worst enemy, I didn't recognize in that moment how much I didn't trust my intuition. And I didn't do the work to even identify that I didn't trust my intuition and what needed to be healed around it. It took a whole lot more challenges over the course between 2019, actually it was a year. It was in 1 year, 2020, y'all know, happened right after that. And I experienced some challenges. It was actually 2021 where where the moment came where I experienced a challenge that made me say, okay, intuition, I feel like you have set me off. That I trusted you and you set me straight off a cliff. What is this for? What is this about? And from that point, I really dedicated time and energy to look at all of the ways that I felt like my intuition had set me off a cliff. And what I recognized from each and every one of those things, that I was focused on the fact that the results that I was looking for didn't come to fruition, as opposed to the other valuable added benefits that came out of it. I was so focused on things not going the way that I wanted them to, that I didn't look at the bigger picture. And because California was shut down for a full year in 2021, we shut down in March of 2020, and it was shut down all the way to April of 21. So when I began doing this work at the end of January, I really had time and space to really look at my intuition and really change my relationship to it. And many of you know that what inspired me to, what I say, blow up my life and move to Oklahoma was my intuition made that very clear. I came here for a graduation and my intuition was like, this is the thing to do. And having spent January 20th is when my process began, through the middle of May, I had this invitation to trust my intuition again. And as I've been in this place, y'all have seen me, some of you met me in July of 21 when I moved here, that I really have dedicated this time to looking at my intuition and identifying what brought me to Oklahoma to begin with. And I genuinely feel that the work that we are doing here together, that what we are doing is enriching our soil of possibilities in Oklahoma right now. Next week, we are going to have a discussion about the 30th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. And to be honest, I didn't know the 30th anniversary was this year. It was a whole series of events that brought me to that clarity that this is what was going on. And to not be from Oklahoma City, I don't have a personal basis and relationship to it. And since I've been here and having conversation with people about their experience, I've sat at tables where people are talking about where they were the moment the Oklahoma City bombing had happened. And I've been having conversations this week. It's just come up this week. Tasha shared with me that she did some research on the bombing and how Oklahoma City was selected because of its place in the country, of being in the heartland, and because we were considered vulnerable. And as I'm talking about feeling called to Oklahoma City in this moment in time in history, that the same reason that a moment that this location was chosen as a place for terrorism, I think it's also been identified as a place for spirit, for a place for love. That I've been called here, other people are being called here, each one of you is called here to show up in this space and participate in spiritual community, because this city is calling us to stand for love. This city is calling us to invest and enrich our soil of possibilities. Elijah Christopher Hayden also said, by transforming the decaying aspects of our lives into enriching compost and establishing daily practices that foster growth, we create an environment brimming with possibilities. So this 90-day experience that I've created, fun fact, the accountability space starts tonight at 8 p.m. If you'd like to join us tonight in the conference room on the other side of the kitchen, we'll be meeting at 8 o'clock for a straight hour, 8 to 9 p.m. And I will be introducing the concept of the 90-day program. So in my own process of writing, I started writing the book. Actually, I didn't just start writing it. I wrote a draft, the draft that I've been using as the foundation draft of the book was on a cruise ship in 2022 with my family. Me and my family have not been on the best of terms, especially in 2022 we were not. So I wasn't trying to hang out with them on the cruise. I was like, let me give myself a project so that I can be in the room taking care of myself during this time and just enjoy the ocean. And I would step off the cruise ship, go snorkeling, live my best life in Mexico, get back on the ship and get right back to the draft. So maybe like when I had some version of a completed draft 2-3 days in, I realized that the way that I had written the book was the intention was for it to be intuitively led, meaning that I was inviting people to identify the spiritual practice that best supports them. And then I realized that there would be a whole lot of value in if I made it easier for the reader by giving them some sense of direction, some forward sense of direction. And there's this book, some of you may be familiar with it. It's called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And I actually was moving through The Artist's Way when I blew up my life and moved to Oklahoma. And the process, the concept behind the Artist Way is starting each day with morning pages, of writing 3 pages straight without thinking about it, just allowing stream of consciousness writing practice, and to set a weekly artist date with yourself. So that was what I was doing when I got here. And I was thinking about spiritual practices that I'd read about from other people, and encouraging people to move through it. And every spiritual practice, every book that I thought of said, this spiritual practice must be done this exact way. The morning pages are supposed to be done in the morning. There was another book, it's called The Abundance Book, that is a 40-day, it's by John Randolph Price, it's a 40-day prosperity program, and there are 10 affirmations, and you need to move through these 40 days consecutively, and if you miss a day, you gotta start all over again. That is how this concept works. So I thought about how each spiritual practice I've been introduced to has been rigid. It's been, this is the way it has to be done. And I saw the value of creating a spiritual practice that's designed to support people in their understanding of spirit. So the purpose of the accountability space is, it's difficult to move through these things individually. I went through the Artist Way completely by myself. I have done the 40-day practice with other people, and that helped me stay accountable. We had like our own Reverend Audra, who I mentioned earlier, she's who introduced me to this, and set up a meeting with one other person where once a week we would meet and talk about the impact of that. So it was helpful it's always helpful for me to engage in spiritual practice in community, to have somebody remind me that this is a practice that I'm engaging in. So the idea behind the 90-day program, as I'm mentioning this, establishing daily practices that foster growth, is that I've designed these 90 days to serve as a create your own spiritual adventure, which means that if your intuition, that if you read day one is something like, how do you identify the difference between your inner shit talker and your inner wisdom? That you might say, oh, I already know this. I don't need to meditate on this, or I don't need to journal about this, or I don't want to listen to the song of the day, or I don't want to watch this TV show that's about it. I provide all these resources so that you have a choice. Spiritual practice for you may look like only watching TV shows and movies with a sense of intentionality. So it's designed to be a create your own spiritual adventure, but if that day one doesn't resonate with you, you can skip to day 2. And the intention is about having 90 dedicated days of spiritual practice to help support you in what practices best foster your own spiritual growth. So that's what I did. You're welcome to join me today. We can talk more about it. Elijah Christopher Hayden also said, our dreams are like seeds, full of potential, waiting for the right conditions to grow and flourish. Just as a gardener carefully prepares the soil, we must create an environment conducive to nurturing our dreams. A couple of days ago, I started watching this movie, Interstellar. Has anybody ever seen that? It's a Christopher Nolan movie. And I watched it in the theater back in 2014 when it came out. And it was an incredible movie to watch on the IMAX. You know, like the sound, the visuals, the story. I really got a lot out of it. And I haven't watched it since I was in the IMAX theater in 2014. So something came up where I turned it on again and really saw it from a different lens than I did. The person who I was at 2014 is a very different person than who I am in 2025. And what I didn't remember about this movie is that at the beginning, Matthew McConaughey and his family own a farm and everything is dying. And so the whole reason Matthew McConaughey even gets into his spaceship to begin with is they're looking for another planet to save, to save humanity. And what I was thinking as I watched this movie was how Christopher Nolan couldn't imagine a world where we figured out how to make the soil grow the plants that we need to grow to be able to nourish and sustain ourselves. The concept of that was unimaginable. That the way that we are treating the earth today, that the only future Christopher Nolan was able to imagine was that we had to escape the planet altogether, instead of rethink the way that we plant crops to begin with. I read this book called it's not called Planting Seeds, it's called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And she writes about how the indigenous culture planted things in a way that sustained the soil and allowed for healthy rotation of the crops. Some of y'all may have heard about this concept of the three sisters, corn, bean, and squash, and how these plants are grown together because they sustain and nourish all of it, the soil and the plants themselves. And the colonizers came in and said, y'all are doing it wrong. That everything is supposed to be not diverse. Everything is supposed to be the same. Corn goes here, squash goes here, beans go here. And what came about is soil that has been depleted and plants that do not taste good. And instead of recognizing that indigenous people for centuries, for millennia, have showed us how to plant crops in a way that sustain our soil and allow for our food source, that our filmmakers cannot imagine that. Don't even listen to the possibility of the fact that indigenous cultures have these centuries of history to draw from as inspiration. And what I said as I watched this movie was, I don't think things are going to end like this. I think at some point, we're going to listen to indigenous people, and that we're going to start growing crops the way it needs to happen. That right now, the way that farmland is treated is our old way of being, is designed in a way that doesn't serve us, that it is not sustainable. And maybe one day, before feeling like we have to escape the planet altogether, that we will listen to indigenous history and start farming differently. That's what I think. And like I said, Oklahoma, being in the heartland, I think that some of these shifts might happen here first, where there isn't a whole lot of corporate weird overhead preventing from that possibility. And we've got such a strong indigenous culture here. There's a possibility that these shifts might take place here, and that maybe us serving as the heartland creates that opportunity for the shift to happen. We will see what happens, but right now, we are enriching our soil of possibilities. Elijah Christopher Hayden also said that surrounding ourselves with supported people is equally as important, right? We empower each other to create happy, healthy, abundant lives. That is what we are doing. Surrounding ourselves with supported people is equally as important. We've got our spiritual practice, but we also have our community spaces to support you in your daily spiritual practice and developing what those practices are that are supportive for you. They said, the encouragement, advice, and positive energy from friends, family, and mentors can significantly impact our motivation and progress. So I mentioned that in 2022, my family and I were not on the best of terms. And the way that I have responded to it is dedicating my own spiritual practice, is staying present, is allowing divine guidance, and trusting and knowing that Spirit compels, speaks, directs me to the right and perfect action. Last Tuesday was my mother's birthday. And I made a decision last year that I would visit my mother every year for her birthday. I'd never done that, but Oklahoma is a whole lot closer to Chicago than Los Angeles is. So I felt like it was a possibility that I can make this commitment for myself. And I was proactive. I texted my family and invited my family to come to her birthday dinner, identified a place, made a reservation, and when I arrived, I discovered that my mother, who had been running for school board, that the election results were going to come through while we were at her birthday dinner. And I was like, well, how cool is that? And she's at the table checking her phone, finds out that she wins her election. And the election after party just happens to be down the street from the restaurant that I chose for dinner. So my Black family shows up at this party. Skokie, Illinois is a Jewish neighborhood. My mother's converted to Orthodox Judaism, so she attends the local synagogue there, and this room full of elderly Jewish people, and my Black family comes and asks the DJ to turn on the Casper slide and turns all the way up at this election after party in a way that I'm confident Skokie, Illinois has never ever seen before. And despite the fact that I was having some challenges, I decided that I'm there for my mother. I made this commitment for my mother. I'm showing up despite the fact that I've got some tension with some other family members. This is what I'm here to do. And so I had a lot of fun. And the very next day, the family member that I had the most issues with called me and apologized for how she's treated me over the course of the last couple of years, and said that with this new year, they are committed to showing up differently. And I didn't have to. How do I have this conversation? Do I need to have this conversation in advance? I really just let Spirit lead. I didn't have to do the work. I got to be present. I got to trust. And so we have this, I see a lot of things on social media about like kicking toxic people out of your life. And, somebody can't get down with you. Somebody, only go where you're celebrated. Don't go where you're tolerated. I find that staying present, not making this decision of like, I'm cutting you off because you don't support me, but just being present. If somebody violates my boundaries, I get to articulate them. I get to set consequences for people who violate my boundaries. I can identify what those consequences are, communicate them, and if they are violated, do something about it. And I went to Chicago with that intention of being very clear that if I felt like I was treated a way that I didn't deserve, I would be prepared to speak up, make my boundaries very clear, and identify a consequence around that. And thankfully, I didn't have to. I got treated with the respect that I deserved. And I'm grateful that I understand that encouragement, advice, positive energy really helps. And I find that the people who don't bring encouragement, advice, and positive energy, they're those challenges, right? That they've been put here into our lives for us to learn some lessons. And the lessons that I learned from my challenges with my family was practicing staying present and trusting Spirit to guide the way. And it absolutely worked out in my favor. Elisha also said, dedicating time and energy to our passions is another crucial element. Dreams require consistent effort and attention to grow. I feel like that's enough said, right? Like, what spiritual practice does is it helps you connect with that time and that energy. What having people around you that bring positive energy and encouragement and love, all of that supports it. But also dedicating time and energy to our passions as well. As I said, I found I'm going to be on a cruise ship for 5 days, so I'm going to write a book during that time. I dedicated this time and energy for that book to be out, for the clarity of that 90-day program to come through. And I believe this is my last quote. Reverend Elijah Christopher Hayden says, by actively nurturing our dreams through clear intentions, supportive relationships, and dedicated effort, we create a fertile ground where they can take root and flourish. This is how enriching our soil of possibilities works, is that we actively nurture our dreams through clear intentions, supportive relationships, dedicated effort. I said this was the last one, but I don't know. Let's see. Yes, it was. Fantastic. Good for me. I put this material together in the airport in the middle of the night. So I had no idea. Nina and I didn't end up connecting and getting keys. So I didn't have a key to the office until 12:28, 2 minutes before our sound bath. And so grateful that I made this in Canva for the first time beforehand, because I wouldn't have been able to access our computer and create this. This is how divine timing works, is that Spirit stranded me in O'Hare for 16 hours for me to be like, you know what? Let me put together the Sunday material while I'm here in the middle of the night. So I'm grateful that nurturing my dreams and my intentions created this divine timing to take place. And divine timing has brought all of you here to this moment in time, online or in person. So I would love for us to come together in prayer to really connect with planting our seeds of intention, of enriching I love that it's a follow-up. Last week was planting our seeds of intention, and this week is enriching our soil of possibilities. And it just turned out that way. The team doesn't work where it's super intentional like that. The March person is in charge of March things. April person is in charge of April things, so that crossover, Spirit really knew what it was doing. So, I invite you to take a moment to get comfortable in the cushy chairs that we are sitting in or standing in, wherever we are. Taking a moment to bring our conscious attention and awareness to the breath. Recognizing that this breath is absolutely sacred. That we are being breathed by the divine. It doesn't require intention. It doesn't require effort. And this breath is what each one of us has in common. So I'm grateful that the breath that is breathing us in our bodies here and now is what inspired us to show up to this experience today, to engage in spiritual community together, to empower one another to live happy, healthy, abundant lives. And I am grateful to trust and know that as each one of us is enriching our soil of possibilities with our dreams, our intentions, and our desires, that we are cultivating and co-creating a community of inclusivity, of love, divine connection, and community. I'm so grateful for who we are, for how we show up, and the shift that takes place in this community that ripples across the planet because we have shown up and said yes to it and affirmed it in prayer here and now. And in gratitude, I invite each one of us to affirm this prayer with whatever word or phrase resonates most. I choose to close by saying, and so it is. All right, now is time for the conscious giving portion of our service of Spiritually Uncuffed. I'm gonna invite D. Ray to come on up and sing a gratitude song for us as we do this. And as Mary Lee goes around with the what is that, basket, a tray, offering plates, I invite you to speak this giving affirmation with me if it resonates with you. I live in abundance. I am filled with abundance. I give from abundance, and it transforms my life.
Bless you. Bless you.
Okay. This song is about love. It's a Bellamy Brothers song, and always grateful for love. Well, there's a reason for the sunshiny sky, and there's a reason, oh, I'm flying so high every season, when those love lights shine all around us. So let the feeling grab you deep inside and send you reeling where your love can't hide, and you stealing through the moonlight nights with love. Let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show. And you know what I mean, it's the season. Or let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine. And you know what I mean, that's the reason. Well, there's a reason for the warm, sweet nights, and there's a reason for the candle lights. Must be the season when those love lights shine all around us. So let that wonder take you into space, lay you under its loving embrace. Just feel the thunder as it warms your face. You can't hold back. Let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show. And you know what I mean, it's the season. And let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine. And you know what I mean, it's the reason.
Thank you, D-Ray. All right, look at me. I made announcements this time. That's my plan. Do announcements this time. So, potluck. Today's potluck Sunday. Y'all brought some treats. We're going to be inside this room because they're doing a beer tasting contest next door. I don't know if you want to try and get in on that. But
Beer tasting.
y'all are welcome. Y'all do y'all. But we've got all kinds of goodies. And if you are watching this online and you're like, oh, I'm missing potluck Sunday, feel free to run on over and grab some nummies. We don't require you to have brought anything to share. We brought plenty. I made a huge vegan potato salad. I've never made vegan potato salad in my life. So, like, if you hate it, my bad. And I made some black bean soup. So, like, huge pot of that. We've got plenty of food to share. Like I said, Making Peace with Your Inner Shit Talker. This is what the cover of the book looks like. Starts today at 8 p.m. in the conference room right over there. And what's up and why? Me and my cousin, Be Lovely, me and this cousin have not been beefy the whole time. She's had my back from day one. Her and I host a New Thought Media Network show on Thursdays at noon, streaming on all of New Thought Media Network's platforms, on YouTube, on Facebook, and it's also streaming on my own Facebook as well. Thursdays at noon. And you can watch some old episodes on New Thought Media's. We did 2 weeks, and I was stuck on a plane for last week, so Addison filled in for me. So if you want to, they talked a lot about reality TV. So if you're interested in the brighter side of life, one fun moment at a time from the lens of reality TV, feel free to check out last week's episode with Addison. Healing Circle. Dane Leibart is leading a healing circle in our space, in this space right here on Thursday, April 10th, and he's here to talk about it. So, Dane, you want to come on up and tell us a little bit about this healing circle?
I would love to. God, it's so great to be in the space with people who I know from decades ago, when I used to come to United Life Church. My name is Dane Leibart, and it says up there I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have been in Oklahoma for almost 17, 18 years now, originally from Los Angeles, California. And we came to Oklahoma via Yucatan, Mexico, where my wife and I were living the fantasy of having a tropical home on the beach and doing that thing. And it turned out that my fantasy about living in a home on the beach in Mexico was really a fantasy about living in a 5-star resort in Mexico and not trying to handle managing my house in the tropics and all the complexities that went on along with that. So what happened was we decided to leave Mexico after about a year. My sister lived in Bethany, and so we needed a place to stay. That's how I ended up in Oklahoma City. And this business that Casey was talking about, this idea, I'm sure everybody's familiar with it. There seems to be a rumor floating around somewhere that Oklahoma is going to be a seed or a center for this evolution of shift that's taking place. And gives me chills right now to talk about it. And some other stuff that Casey was talking about that has to do with what I want to offer you and participate with you. And I guess the really good part is it's free, so that's pretty cool. My background, been in mental health for 25 years or so. I spent a lot of time doing support groups for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and my passion is group. And I love doing groups. I also facilitated the prostate cancer support groups at Stevenson Cancer Center. Done that on a cancer survivor myself. I'm telling you a little bit about me so you kind of get where I'm coming from in terms of this whole thing. I've been on my spiritual journey forever. That's how I found this church when I got here, and actually United Life Church was the church that I was going to in Fullerton, California. Was the only organized religion that I ever really felt comfortable with, that I had no beef with, that everything was good from that perspective. So, the indigenous idea that Casey presented, that we may be moving back to understanding and learning why their practices were so important, is part of the knowledge that imbues the healing circle model that I'm going to be doing here on Thursday at 7:30. This model has evolved from the cook fires of our ancestors throughout the globe. Some say, some science says about 400,000 years ago, other science says about 4 million years ago, pre-humans began to gather around these cook fires, and they began to communicate. And with language came this problem of getting along and communicating with one another. So, and also the Native American culture, which we have here in Oklahoma very strongly, used the idea of a healing circle or coming together in council to discuss problems and solve issues. The healing circle model that we're going to be doing on Thursday comes from Healing Circles Global, which has healing circles going throughout the entire planet. And I spent the last year training with them on their model. So, and so why would anybody even want to do a healing circle? You may be familiar with the Surgeon General's report about where we stand on isolation and loneliness in this country. You all heard that it's an epidemic. Healing Circle is the anecdote to that. And what this model does is it creates community. And the beauty of this model and how it's different than a support group that many of you may be familiar with is we're there to support and listen. Because I'm a psychotherapist in private practice here in Oklahoma City, and what I have learned is just being able to speak your truth in front of another human being and have that be accepted is healing. It's as simple as that. And I don't think Source, God, however you want to refer to that energy that imbues us, wouldn't make things so complicated that you would have to really kind of go to a university for 10 years and understand some process. No, it's very simple. We get together as human beings and we speak our truth. So let me tell you a little bit about how this model works. It's very simple and it's designed. The reason circle is so powerful is because it's not like this. Because here I stand in front of the circle and that imbues me with certain power. And we eliminate that whole idea by sitting in circle where we all are equal and the same. And the idea, should you choose maybe to do another circle or another time or get involved in doing circle, then that leadership of the circle would be passed around because it's really not all that complicated. You know, once you have done it a few times, it's pretty simple. So the way that it works, and I personally like ceremony, so I would be inclined to have a candle and maybe some talking stick and some sage and stuff, because I just really like inviting the ancestors in the four directions. I just really love that stuff. But it's not necessary. In the model that they do, throughout in other places, I talked to one of the trainers and was saying, I really like to do ceremony and stuff, and she really had a great answer to that. And it was, why? Why do that when people may have an issue, or that may be weird for some people, that might turn them off? So I was like, okay, because part of the reason I would love to do a circle here is because I do my practice online. And Healing Circles Global, they went online during the epidemic, and that's what opened up the whole process to the entire world. And check out their website sometime. You'll be really amazed at the circles that they have going. They do mainly, like a lot of it's all on cancer, living with cancer. They've got some other ones going on with dealing with today. You know, anybody got any issues about what's going on in the news and what's happening on our planet right now? So they've got some groups just dealing with that. Also, this model has now been entered in the book of best practices for management to solving problems when you're having conflict or trying to come up with new ideas. So anyway, we're going to be doing it on 7:30, and I will be the host, and I get to have a guardian who is going to be, Tasha. It's going to be, and we're going to talk about it a little bit this afternoon. Just want to give you a quick, how does it work? So, done a lot of presentations, and I've always felt better when I know what's coming. So if you're going to go sit in this circle, it might be helpful to know what you're in for. Basically, what happens, you sit down, and we very much do like we did here. We do a little centering thing to get you centered. So you do that. And then they do a first round of kind of what's the outer weather report with you right now. And that could be, I'm stressed, I thought I was going to be here late, my kids are driving me crazy, I don't know, it could be all of this outer stuff that we deal with. Then the next round, and this is the one where you would simply ask the question, what's on your heart right now? And you share what's on your heart. No crosstalk on any of this stuff. It's just you share what you've got to share, and then we move on to the next person. And then after the heart share, they go to the harvest, where then that would go something like, well, did anything resonate with you? Was there a theme or something that came out for you in this thing? So that's it. Can we close? And there is the option, and this is different than when we do it online. When they close, everybody says goodbye. I like to do what they call a resource section, where we get to talk about what happened and really, dig in if that's what we choose to do. So that's what's on tap for 7:30 on Thursday. What questions can I answer for you about anything that I've said? Answered all your questions, not one question. I was so thorough. Okay.
All right, thanks, Steve. We met Dane at the Radiant Living Fun Fair. He was at the table right next to us. Didn't even know he'd been in United Life before. And our whole intention has been to collaborate with other people, that we are a center for spiritual living. So a healing circle makes perfect sense for us to be here. And I love that Tasha Salinas has stepped in to serve as the guardian. So I get to participate. I will be providing the talking stick. I made a talking stick at a Celebrating Our Souls Black New Thought conference that I went to last August, and it's never been used. So this will be the first time the inaugural talking stick is being brought into practice. And as Dane said, I love that ritual and ceremony is being incorporated into this, simply because as a spiritual living center for spiritual living, it feels appropriate for us to incorporate ritual. And I will also be buying some sage. I do not buy white sage because I've learned that white sage should be designated for indigenous communities only. So I'm going to be buying some other sage, or if somebody else has some other sage you'd like to bring, please let me know, and I won't get some. You let me know. All right. So this is my last announcement of the day. Our open house and the installation ceremony for officially installing me as the senior minister within this community happens on Saturday, May 31st from 3 to 5 right in here. And we're going to be chatting a little bit about the organization, what to expect. probably during the potluck. We said after the potluck, but we're all here, so we'll probably have this conversation in front of y'all. And if you have thoughts, feedback, input, you are welcome to participate in that conversation however you'd like. So, no, I said it was last announcement. That was a big fat lie. This table over here has our guest book. If you've never signed our guest book, this is your first time here. If you'd like information about who we are and learning about our weekly events, please feel free to leave your email address in our guest book and we will update our email list. If you have a prayer request, there's that little treasure chest on the table as well. And if you are brand new, or even if you're not brand new and want to learn more about us, feel free to grab a bookmark or a Science Mind magazine off of that table. I don't think I have any on the table, so you let me know if you want one and I will find them. They're not far. Okay, so that is our program for today. Feel free to eat, drink, taste the beer next door, and be merry, and have the best week ever.